I, well, you have the exact same presentation, so I can, and then let you talk, and kind of when you pause, I can go to the next one. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah. Make sure you share with computer sound.
What do you mean?
Because we moved a video, so when you hit share screen, then there's a little box to check down at the bottom that says share computer sound.
I see it, yeah. All these weird permissions. It's like, what am I doing? Okay, can y'all hear me?
It's kind of quiet, but that might just be my computer.
No, I've heard that a lot, and because I've got like the audio. I don't have enough time right now to figure it out. I have a little microphone. I can figure that out before next week, but I'll just speak up. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. All right. Let's see. I'm ready to go. How do we know who's on?
Click on participants down at the bottom, and then click on attendees.
Oops.
Aisha says, yes, she can hear you loud and clear.
I don't know why I can't. At the bottom, attendees. If I make this small. Nope, there it is at the top. Interesting. I can't get it in full screen mode. Chat. Okay, you can hear. Okay, I'll try to speak up. Okay, so I don't know. I guess I'll just have to have you do the moderating of the chat. Is this okay until we start, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because y'all can kind of see on my screen, you know, besides all my other little things that I'm working on, you know, that the
Dennis says try F11 for full screen.
Yeah, I mean, I got to full screen, but the problem is I can't see any chats or any Q&A or participants or any of that stuff. I can't click on that. Make it big. So I'll do it like once we get there. But I guess for the first like 10 minutes, what we've been doing is having kind of a networking session. So it takes people a couple of minutes to kind of get on here. So as you can see our agenda on our slides, you know, we're doing the Does It Take Millions to Be a Queen series, and our agenda for the day is going to be welcome and networking now until 12:10 CDT, and then we'll go over week 3, lead your way to success with the right leads, and then we'll end with explanation about who's our sponsor today, and then questions and answers. So for now, if you guys have any deals or anything you want to share or any good news, I could take good news all day long. That's always welcome. It's your kind of chance to network.
And if you're not in Texas, please let us know where you are. I always like to see where people are joining from. If you're new to Zoom, if you hover down to the bottom of your screen, you can see a chat, and you can also see a raise hand. So we will use you can use the chat right now. At the end for the question and answer, you'll be able to raise your hand, and then we can allow you to speak, and then you can actually just ask your question, and we can have a conversation that way.
Welcome, James from Tyler, Texas. I looked at a couple of deals out there, but it wasn't quite ready yet for the timing.
Where is that?
Tyler's East Texas. It's see, out of Dallas, you go, I forget the highway, but you go east like 2 hours, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I want to say it's 75, but I don't remember. It's been a while. So to be in dental, we actually, the Tyler Junior College there, their dental hygiene department, we outfitted that entire department. Actually, it's funny, this company that I'm drinking out of their little cup, we worked for them 6 years ago. So, yep, so that was the last time I was in Tyler.
All right. Keisha's in Dallas. She's new to real estate investing, just trying to learn all she can. It's a great way to start.
Yes. Investing, cool. You're in Dallas. That's cool. Okay. I mean, doesn't make a difference right now because we can't like do meetings, or I normally have a meetup once a month here in Dallas, but you know, can't until we can all hang out again, you know. So when we get back to it, I'll make sure to tell everybody.
Yeah, and we have meetups in Houston too. So if you're in Houston and it comes back to that, please look for us.
Yeah. The Real Estate IQ has their own meetups?
We do.
Oh.
Yep, we usually do a quarterly big one, and then we do little just kind of training on our system kind of meetups.
Well, I'll have to come. I do come down to Houston before this, every once a month, just about. My buddy has a radio show, and I would come and visit.
Who's that?
What?
Who is that?
The show?
Yeah.
It was Mr. Texas Real Estate, Jason Bible, and
oh yeah.
Or you know, they're nice. They're like, yeah, you can hop on.
Yeah.
You can get snow covered.
Well, James, I figured since I really can't travel to any nice places, I can just pretend with my Zoom background.
I love it.
Sometimes it's a beach.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's mountains or somewhere else.
Too funny. I'm gonna have to learn to do that because I've got some family visiting, and they're gonna like be walking around in the background when I'm doing stuff like this. So it's better to have.
Yeah. When you're on that first screen, when you first log into Zoom, up in the top right corner is a little, settings cog.
Yeah.
Thing. So if you click on that and then go to virtual background.
Cool.
And then, so it comes with a few, and then you can download your own. There's a bunch of them out there if you just Google it.
I was just saying, I'll just put pictures of me. So it's just like floating around. I'm just kidding. Oh my God. Yeah, any good news would be awesome. Oh, okay, awesome. I have a little bit of good news. So this week was actually super stressful. The last 2 weeks, a couple of things going on, but yesterday I got an email from Texas A&M that I was nominated for Aggie 100. So I was like, nothing can knock me down now. This is great.
Cool. I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool.
It's their top 100 Aggie-owned businesses. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is, but it's, or I'm saying it wrong. There's 12 under 12, and then there's Aggie 100. So the Aggie 100 is their top performing 100 businesses, where the founder came from, Texas A&M. So we've had some good growth this last year, so it's awesome.
Very cool.
I joined the Aggie Women's Club too, but they have meetups like there, like down there. So, I don't live in Houston anymore, so it's not super convenient to go, but
right.
One of these days I'll go. Oh, and what I'm going to do before we start, because I forgot this last time, I was going to drop a link for everybody, and then because I had it on full screen, I couldn't do it. So I'll do it now. This is for later on. Like, I'll ask if anyone wants to be qualified to be a multifamily investor and what that takes. And so there's a quiz that I've got, and I'll just drop it in there. So later on, you can have it there. But because I said I was going to do that last time, and I realized we finished, and I never did. So
you can also, you can also put that link in your community group.
I did.
Okay, awesome.
Not very many people that have joined yet. So I think we've got, that's the other thing too, everybody, is that when you go to the community group, and you may have to, if you don't know yet how to get in, we can explain that, but, or I can drop the link, or I don't know how we'll do that, but all of the prior recorded videos and stuff from these sessions we've been doing is all in there, so you can go and reference it whenever you want. Plus any links like this or things I say I'm going to follow up with are in there too. So please join so you can stay connected. All right. Look at that. It is time.
And I'll show you how to do that at the end too.
Awesome. Okay, so welcome everybody to week number 3, Lead Your Way to Success with the Right Leads. This is number 3 out of the 7 series that we're doing. The series is called It Doesn't Take Millions to Be a Queen. And that's a play off of our company's name, The Apartment Queen. So then this kind of goes over our agenda. We'll finish up at 1 o'clock and cover what our sponsors do. That'll be very key this week. And then we'll do a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, you've got your chat box, and feel free to drop stuff in there, and we'll get to those at the end. And Becky, I'll let you say, kind of repeat this one again.
All right. Yep. If you're new to Zoom and weren't on before, if you hover your mouse down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see this with the chat. So you can put any questions that you have in the chat. You can, if you just go to it right now, it'll say to all panelists, which means Kaylee and I will get that. But you can also have the option to change that to all panelists and attendees, and then everybody who's on can see your chat. At the end, we'll have some questions and answers, and so we're going to use the raise hand. And if you raise your hand at the end with your question, we can enable you to speak, and then we can have a conversation about your question. All right, and then we'll also have some polls that are going to come up. And so the first poll question is going to tell us a little bit about you and who's on the webinar, and about where you're at with your investing career or side business, whichever the case may be. And then if you fill out these poll questions, you're going to be entered into a raffle to win some cool free stuff from Real Estate IQ. So make sure you do that. The winner's going to be announced at 11 a.m. on Monday.
I love free stuff. All righty. So I'm excited about the free stuff. So this is kind of how we start everything off, is getting a little bit in touch. If y'all don't know me yet, or if this is your first time to tune in, to talk about an icebreaker. So what is my why? And my why is literally what gets me out of bed every day. So what this is being able to leverage real estate to create passive cash flow to help create independence, especially for women. So, it's something that's an initiative of ours. We're a women-owned business, and I want to help more women become investors. We actually have a goal called, or we called it Vision 2030. So by 2030, we're going to create 1 billion more female investors on the planet. So hang on tight for that. So that gets me out of bed every day. So it's very intertwined with what we do. We mentioned earlier about the raffle, that was going to be coming up. But you have to enter or answer all of those poll questions to be entered into the raffle. And we'll be giving away some freebies. I think we already covered. And so stay tuned, y'all. This event is brought to you by Real Estate IQ. #1 in deal finding, 45,000 leads every month. And now, while we are not able to door knock and do all the things outside, this is pretty much your way to keep your business rolling. So we'll go over that at the end. But yeah, they provide a massive amount of leads for deal finding.
Yep, so we just want to show a short video here and show you what one of our clients is saying about Real Estate IQ.
All right, guys, I'm here with Jordan at the train event, and Jordan just told me he found a lot of success with Real Estate IQ. So Jordan, tell us more.
So what we did, we actually took all the data that you was giving us for the low monthly subscription. We took all of that, and what we do is we actually go skip tracing and find deals. This month alone, we closed on 2 deals that actually came from Real Estate IQ. One was for $55,000, the other one was for $8,000. So hey, we're rocking and rolling.
Oh wow! So how much have you made with the system so far?
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
Even if I didn't make it, I saved it because I had to drop everybody else that I was getting my data from, because you just offered the most bang for your buck for sure. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. And we're looking for more future success from you, Jordan. Thank you so much. If you want to learn how to analyze deals just like us, make sure you check out this web.
Great, thank you. If you'd like to know more about Real Estate IQ, just say yes to the poll question about requesting a demo of our service. All right, you can go ahead and go to the next one, Kaylee. There we go. Our speaker today, Kaylee McMahon. You've kind of already met her, and I'll let her take it from here.
Yeah, so real quick, so founder and principal of the Apartment Queen. It is a capital company, and actually we may be changing our name pretty soon here to Apartment Queen Capital, but it'll be the same thing. Where what we do is we buy multifamily deals. So currently we have 720-ish doors, assets under management, as general partner, key principal, and principal. We have a passion for helping others and for creating independence, like I mentioned earlier. And so we always have to remind ourselves, whether it's, you're calling someone, cold calling someone, whether you're talking to a new vendor, whatever it is, that whatever we're doing, if that's helping us on our mission, then we're doing the right things. So this week, everybody, we're going to teach everybody how to effectively find real estate leads. Following the community quarantine, finding leads has never been this challenging, but don't worry, like I mentioned earlier, dang it. I have it on not disturb. Hold on, sorry, y'all. Yeah, it's on do not disturb. I don't know why that popped up.
You want to go to present, probably?
Yeah, I'm in present right now.
Do you have 2 screens? Do you have 2 monitors that you're looking at?
Nope, I don't know how to get it to not do that. I just exited out of the presentation. Sorry, guys, let me go back in. Not quite sure how to deal with that email thing, but
James says you better be careful or you can be dropped from the 100.
oh yeah. What? So the production goes down all of a sudden? Yeah, that's one thing I had to reckon with this week is that I'm not perfect. We make mistakes. It's no big deal. And being solution focused is the best way to handle everything. So hopefully we'll just move on. All right, stay. No worries. We'll share with y'all being able to find leads from home. So you can utilize your resources to help you find leads and not have to break quarantine rules. Finding deals can be challenging, especially for real estate investors. To effectively find deals, you need the right amount of knowledge and resources. To be a successful investor, you need to make sure that you have enough reliable sources of leads to keep your business growing. With that in mind, what I wanted to cover today are a couple of things, 3 things. So multifamily real estate has a lot of advantages, and we're going to go over the hard parts of multifamily is finding the deal. That's really, really hard. So this is kind of giving a little bit of a reality of like, I'll give you all the sources we've looked at and used and whatnot, and what works, what doesn't work. So we will understand the importance of sourcing leads to help your business become successful and what to look for. So I'll share with you all of our sources we've used. Discover where and how to get reliable, that's key, reliable lead resources. And then the concept of bird dogs, what that is, and why it's important to real estate. So if anybody is interested in getting qualified as a multifamily investor, you can either drop your email, or actually earlier before I went into the full screen, I dropped a link. And actually that is the quiz that you can grab that link and use that to figure out if you're a sophisticated, accredited, or what kind of investor you are and what kind of deals you would qualify for. So if you just fill that out on your own time or whenever you feel like it, you now have the ability to figure out what type of investments you qualify for in multifamily. So it's in there this time. I did it right. So if you want to be a multifamily investor, just check out that link and raise your hand in the chat or comment if you want to be a multifamily investor, and we'll catch up on the Q&A. So knowledge of what works for you is really key. So thinking about that, what works for your business model, so that you always have to kind of think about, like, before you just go buy a bunch of leads, like what kind of leads do you want, and where are they going to be coming from, and what's going to work and what's not going to work. So it's really clear, like for us to be to be very clear on what we're looking for. So when someone asks for like our criteria, you have to know that. So for example, when we're looking for our criteria, and this applies to single family and multifamily, not every single one, but you're wanting to know your market data. So whether it's single family or multifamily, you want to understand the population growth. You want to understand the income growth, the job growth. You want to understand the house valuation growth or decline, crime. All those things are really important when you're looking at a market and then a sub-market. And that also, whenever you're sourcing leads, then when you've thought through all of this and you figured out what your definite criteria is, it's important to get it as specific as possible. Then you can go find leads that are targeted in that area, so that you know that you'll have success with that. Then also the profile of the property, the financials. So that's another really key important thing. So for example, it depends on what you're going after. So each different type, like if you're looking at multifamily, for example, financials are really important to get your hands on those, right? So, and then knowing what kind of financials you want to hit. So again, like if you're in a single family market and you're looking to do like a duplex or a triplex, or you're looking to do something where you want to look at a pre-existing deal, you want to see the property financials and know exactly what, for example, if it's a commercial deal, you want to know what net operating income is, like your target point and moving higher. Or for example, on a single family or like a 1 to 4 family size deal, what would be a good ROI or return on your investment. So you have to then figure out how much cash you're putting up front, how much the loan is going to be involved. So you kind of need to know all these things going into it, so that when you're then searching, you're searching the right market, and then you're also searching for the right properties. So whenever you're looking at the properties themselves, single or multi, you'll know what your deal breakers are. And then if you're putting your searches out there / buying leads for those things, then you don't have to search it, but you just filter it by exactly what you're looking for, right? So another thing to know about when you're looking for leads is you want to know that your exit strategy ahead of time, or your strategy in general. Like, are we going to do buy and hold? Are we going to flip it? Are we going to flip the contract? Are we going to, like, whatever your business model is of what you're going to do, it's really important to know your exit, because again, when you're searching for leads, then there's certain really crucial markers that you want to be looking for. Like for me, on a multifamily deal, the way that we do things is we're looking to double our basis. So meaning we're going to buy something at $1 and then we're going to sell it at $2. So that's really what our target is when it comes to our exit strategy. And so there are certain markets where we can do that. And there's certain markets where we can't. There are certain markets where, so it's just very important to know exactly what your exit is. It's the same thing like if you're flipping a house, so your timing is correct. When you're buying these leads, you want to time when you think you're going to get a hold of this, buy it, and then flip it, and then bring it to market. That's just an example. You don't necessarily, I've learned this the hard way, a couple times. If you don't be a little bit on the conservative side, and you're on the, I think we can definitely get it done in 3 months. I think we can definitely get the loan done in a month. And there's always delays, especially right now with COVID. Everything, I would be very conservative about your time frame, but you never want to list a property that's single family anywhere between November, December, January. It's impossible to get anything done. You'll get stuff done, but very slowly. So in multifamily, it's the same way as far as lease up. Like, you never want to assume that that's the time frame where that's the very end of your, what we call value add period, where you're now trying to, well, actually the beginning, where you're trying to flip tenants and things. You don't want to necessarily buy in October. I mean, you can, but the point is that you're going to have some slow months there. And so you're going to have to build that into your business plan. But anyway, so you really just need to be very familiar with exactly what your exit plan is, what kind of financials you need the property to have, so you can search by those. Again, the profile of the market, and then also obviously price. You want to know a very clear range of what you're going to be buying. So that's also important when you're searching for leads, knowing exactly what you can afford, what kind of loans you have set up, what other networks of individuals you can leverage for raising money for a deal, or if you're going to offer a security, which is what we do in multifamily, or if you're going to do a 2-partner deal where you JV it in single family, or if you're freaking rich and you can do a basically JV or a TIC, tenants in common, in multifamily with millions and just 2 partners or 3 partners, all active. You can do that too, but it's important to know what your price is. And then also, like I just mentioned, the lending, the cash access, you want to know, because if you're going to be buying a property that is like super cheap, but you have to flip and there's like a ton, regardless, you just need to be aware of like what cash you have access to, and what, how much lending, and also what kind of performance the property needs to have for you to get a certain amount of lending from each individual. So I've done a long-term rental hold where it was like a minor flip, and obviously these apartments. So the lenders want to see a certain level of performance before they're going to lend on it. So it's all different across the board. So reach out to your lender, especially right now in the COVID days. I spent this week on the phone with like 7 or 8 different lenders that are all commercial multifamily, so I can get data from them on capital markets and be able to keep up to date with what's changing on the lending every single week, because it's changing often. So know all this stuff before you even start going for leads. Like I've done this in the past where I'm so eager to get going, like way in the beginning, that you just waste money buying leads. But if you're not clear on what you need that lead to be or have, or where it needs to come from, it's literally a waste of your money. So make sure you have this stuff really figured out. So what is a bird dog? So I'm kind of switching topics, or as far as like where we're hitting stuff, because I'm going to lean into leads. But a bird dog, like today, I have people that are, well, actually, there we go. I have people that, like today, I had someone who, she wholesales houses. That's her main book of business, and she does a really great job at it. But she knows that I'm looking for women to get involved as operators, more women to get involved. And if she can find a deal, or if she has the ability to raise money, or if she has some skill set that really helps us to go forward, then I'll bring her into the deal, no big deal. And then, or we talked this morning, and, she could just get a fee. We'll figure that out. I'll take care of her, no big deal. But so lots of different people who spend their time either driving around, or maybe, for example, for her, what happened was they're working with a fund that does single and multifamily. And the single family, she's like, I'm really good at that. I know exactly what they want. I sell them what they need. And then, I only look for what they need and sell it to them. And that's that. But with multifamily, it's a lot more complex, and that's your expertise. So how about this? Whenever they pass on something, I'll send you something that isn't listed. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So all kinds of different people can be bird dogs out there in the market. You just have to be very clear with what we just covered and knowing exactly what your criteria is. I have like a 4 or 5 bullet point, I think it's 4 bullet points of exactly what we need to look at a deal any further, which is, the market, It's different for multi and single family, but for my multifamily, it's what market cap rate range that's minimum and maximum for the type of vintage or class that we're buying. The age, it has to be the oldest age it could possibly be. It's got what we expect our market rents to be. So like what you expect the performance to be on the property if you're going to look into it further. And then also for us, we define how much meat on the bone we're looking for. So for us, we're looking for ideally 70% plus meat on the bone, units to flip, capital expenditures left to add value to the property with. So anyway, bird dogs that I've worked with in the past have been lenders, so I just got sent one by a lender yesterday from CBRE. She is servicing that debt. So meaning they originate the loan and they also service the debt. And those are the people I've been reaching out to, because that bank would be able to keep a full spectrum eye on what's happening and be able to create relationships with those individuals. So, and how I've created those relationships, this is, in multifamily, it's a super relationship-based business and it's so competitive. So again, for me, my niche has been with women. And so I'm in commercial real estate women, which is called, the acronym is CREW. And I'm in that group, and then reached out to all the commercial lenders that we have in our group, because we already have that in common, and you have to meet certain standards and do certain things to be able to get into the group. And then we have subcommittees that we know each other in as well. So we're closer that way. Anyway, so lenders, they possibly, if they service debt, they could send you deals. Contractors, it's another thing. I've had people that were working on an AC system or working on something, right? And they noticed that the individual that was getting a quote from them was just shocked at what they were quoting. And they were kind of like, well, this is pretty typical of this system. So they noticed a little bit of either uncertainty, stress, or maybe they didn't budget correctly for that and or inexperience. And so, something to keep an eye on for me to slowly introduce myself to those people, gain trust, and over time, hopefully be able to rescue them out of a bad situation. But yeah, that was from a contractor, and again, that person that would provide that deal, I would bring them in with me and teach them what we do, because they deserve it. And again, you have to take care of your bird dogs too. You can't just, oh yeah, go find me stuff and I'm not going to do anything for you. You have to take care of people. So property managers are also good. So for example, if you have a property manager that has in multifamily like a 10,000 unit portfolio, they have their eyes on pretty much every major market that is a good market for growth. And so that's somebody that's going to know, okay, yeah, I've got an owner that's getting ready to sell, and they would let you know, so that would be perfect. You get to skip it going to market, which is where the highest price is going to be found. But in the sake of knowing your buyer can close, maybe knowing your buyer can buy in cash or mostly cash, knowing your buyer has experience. And when you have a complex, I feel this myself, your decisions are principle based, they're not emotionally based. But at the same time, I've worked my ass off to flip a couple apartments, and it's really taken a lot of, stressful days and nights and evenings to get things going the way that they were planned to reach our goals, And so when you're choosing your buyer, you want a buyer that they're going to do something good for that community. Like, for example, we really like to improve the community activities. We we did pizzas before the first for a whole complex this last month, just because we were trying to be appreciative of them paying for the last month. And then not making them come together to have a pizza party, just giving them individual pizzas. But anyway, property managers can be really great because they kind of know what's going on. Probate attorneys, personally, I haven't had any luck with this because they're an attorney. They have a very, it's a client privilege relationship, right? And so giving any kind of client details is completely illegal for them to do. So that a divorce attorney and probate attorney would be two good bird dogs that you could have a relationship in common over time. You can't just call them up. I've learned that. Again, if you have a group that you're part of, CREW or Dallas RIA, or, I don't know, you're part of Dallas Soup Kitchen. I'm just using Dallas because I live here for an example. But if you have something in common and you meet those individuals there, that's the individual to try to pour your time into and to try to give them maybe what they need, So a residential broker is also funny, but it's also a good source for deals because they're out there usually looking for houses or showing their clients. And, our brokerage has pivoted a residential one where we're doing tours still, but we're doing it on an iPad. So we're still out there, but we're just not bringing crowds to different places. We're going to like vacant residences and stuff. So like they're still out there, a residential broker or agent still out there looking at stuff in the community. So if they happen to see a complex that, you know, has deferred maintenance, so meaning things are falling apart, breaking down, that it has high grass, they notice that kind of stuff, they can kind of, you know, let you know. And again, if you close on the deal, you better bring them in, or at least financially take care of them. And then again, bank relationships. So servicers, like I mentioned earlier, the lenders, if they also service the debt they originate. And then construction companies are also another really good source for bird dogs because, or leads, because they're constantly, especially if they're commercial contractors and all they do all day is work on apartments, they're going to know when a property is going through a full overhaul, or maybe there's been a fire and the owner is really frustrated because inevitably, like we had a fire not too long ago on one of our properties, inevitably people will sue you. So we have a couple lawsuits being threatened, you know, and we didn't do anything wrong. Nobody was hurt. The insurance will pay that lawsuit, but kind of, I hate to say it, they kind of take advantage of the situation, but inadvertently that will happen. But the contractors that are working on that will know kind of the temperature of the situation. So bird dogs, those are just a few that I've had success with, not yet the probate or divorce attorney, but you know, that would be someone, especially divorce, that it would be a quick thing where it's a situation where you probably want to connect with someone with a really large law firm with multiple different attorneys, because when you're in a divorce settlement, whether the house gets sold and split, or whether, that's why I mentioned probate, or whether there's just a quick change where they have to make decisions. So being in touch with that would help you to be able to be the first one to find that asset. So sourcing deals in multifamily, where? So I'm going to go ahead and be really generous and give y'all a list that I have put together that is pretty much an exclusive list, minus a couple that I think really just were crappy for us and didn't work, where I have been able to source deals. Now, we're still working on a few of these because we have chosen the route to go generate our own leads. But we're at a point right now where there's certain relationships that we can't kind of make. You can initially do a Zoom call, you can do a call, whatnot, but to actually have the real relationship that you need, and again, multifamily is so relationship driven that you need to kind of, slow down and have a real relationship with people. We're working on these leads. So, I mean, wouldn't it be nice if I just had a resource for these leads, instead of me being the one that is going, okay, let's be creative. Let's find these attorneys in Dallas. Let's call those attorneys. Let's try to get through their front office person, the gatekeeper. We've been working our butts off, and I've learned a little bit that it's okay to have some help. So here's some good sources that we have gathered from different conferences I've gone to, from other great ideas, things we've actually used. So code violations, this is a good place. You can look up code violations by county, depending on what kind of county you live in. But code violators, that's someone that doesn't have their operations tight. And this is, again, with departments. So meaning that normally it's the property manager's job to make sure that we don't have any code violations, and to pay for them and to take care of them. But if they're not being taken care of, there's obviously a gap in operations. And usually when there's a gap in operations, there's a gap in other parts of operations, whether it's financial, whether it's their marketing. And so usually the apartment's having a hard time. Another good source, city planning and zoning. So if you have a relationship with somebody that is involved with city planning and zoning, if there's a certain target area in your city that you're like, I only will do this suburb, and you're very specific, that would be a good resource. But again, that's a longer term relationship. It's not a quick relationship. It's not a quick lead. It's something that's going to take a lot of time to establish that. And then again, be the giver. And so you have to come to those people and say, we're a part of the community, and what we're looking to do is improve the community. And so we need you to help us help you, kind of thing. You have to kind of give before you get. And then LoopNet, this is, I don't know, this is an interesting one, because LoopNet, I did find one of my first deals on LoopNet, but it was just because everybody passed it up because they were so afraid of where the deal was located. Now, when you underwrote the deal and you looked at it, I mean, it was a cash cow. It was making tons of money. It was really stable. It was just scary because of where it was located. And now what's funny is those deals have outperformed everything in our major cities as far as collections, rent payments being on time, and actually getting new traffic when units open up. because that community is very spaced out. It's not as populated as, say, Dallas or New York or whatever. So there's essentially been one case of COVID in that entire county. So, but the story to say with LoopNet is that we hit it up once a month just to check it. But the intent here is to get a hold of the broker that has now become desperate, because what happened was their deal has gotten passed up and passed up and passed up. And so they say that, trash is on LoopNet or whatever. And that may be true, but not all the time. But even if it is trash, that's fine. What you get is you get to directly see the broker's contact that has listed that deal. So that broker is going to list more deals in the future. So again, it's about creating that relationship. So it's the intent of emailing the broker and saying, hey, this deal that you have listed doesn't fit our criteria, but this is our criteria. Could we get on a phone call? Now it's, can we get on a phone call? Can we get on a Zoom? And then maybe, if they're willing to, a one-on-one meeting, I might say, come to my house. Let's sit outside on the porch or something and chat, but we can't have these big meetings anymore. So City Feet is another good one to get leads from. And you got to pay for all these. Nothing's free. NAI Global, it's another one. I haven't used City Feet or NAI Global. I've actually used City Feet for one, but it's not like that great. CIMI is another institute where you can find leads. Broker websites, they're pretty guarded. Like I mentioned earlier, you kind of have to go through the broker to be able to get deals in commercial. So, like I mentioned, Marcus and Millichap, it's supposed to say CBRE, Cushman Wakefield, and there's many, many others. Those are just some examples. So again, you have to create the relationship first before you're going to get any leads. So again, this is just another thing for long-term for relationships if you want to get multifamily deals. And they're going to send you crappy ones first just to test how much you know and to see how much your willpower is to stick to your criteria, because your criteria has some root in previous success. We don't just make up a random criteria. The criteria is because of the market being stable or us having a lot of success doing that same thing in the past. So again, it's challenging, but you can use it. Property management companies, like I mentioned earlier, if you can find one that has a large presence, you can call them once a month and keep updated. But it really helps if you're already in multifamily and you're already using that company, and then you just keep asking them to send you stuff and they will. So again, if you're pre-deal or if you haven't done a deal yet, that's really not going to be that helpful, because I've tried before I did and they're just kind of like, why would I give you a deal? Like, you're not paying me any money, So it doesn't really work if you haven't done a deal yet. Talking again to the probate attorney, again, this is a long-term relationship thing if you have a relationship one-on-one with them, and the divorce attorney that I mentioned before. I think that's everything on that one. And then some other sources, Craigslist. So in the current climate of, so Craigslist you can use two ways. Craigslist is one that you can post your own ad on there, basically testing the market and trying to figure out for rents and seeing how much you're getting hit up. It's not a very efficient way to get leads. It's just kind of more of a testing, and I can expand on that later if you have questions. But basically it's a resource. You can find deals on there, but not really. To tell you the truth, again, it's the intent behind this. So on Craigslist, if you find something that is like, 2 unit, 4 unit, something like that, not always, but sometimes the person that owns that 2 unit, 4 unit, whatever, they also have larger properties. So you can, again, network with those people and try to figure out, what else do you have if you're looking for multifamily. But in the current market where everything's been super competitive and where sellers are able to get their price, like way over their price actually, in this bull market we've had, they have been listing them just straight up with the brokers, putting them on market. And so there really hasn't been anything on Craigslist. We've been hitting Craigslist up for like 6 months, and it's frustrating. We just dumped it probably 2 months ago after that 6 months or whatnot, because we're just like, this is a total waste of time. But I've been told when it flips to a buyer's market, there possibly could be something on there. So right now it doesn't really help until there's a total flip. And it's not totally flipped, especially in commercial. And actually, there's no flip at all. I'm writing articles currently about this. So if y'all want to keep up with that, go to my website, theapartmentqueen.com, and it's going over, different data points. And really everything is just slowed down in commercial. But in single family, it's actually still hot. Like we've had, I don't remember the numbers. You have to look at my blog, but we've had more growth in listing price. We've had more growth in sales price. Now the time to do it, an option period, that's all lengthened again, but transactions are still happening on a regular basis. They're just getting stuck before closing, waiting for people to do inspections, and we just have to, it's slower now, that's all. So anyway, Craigslist doesn't really work for multifamily right now, but maybe in the future. And classifieds, this has not worked for us at all, but I've been told that it's worked for some other people, where, if you actually go to the local newspapers, like we have the Dallas Morning News, there's a classified section, right? So if you go in there and you can set up like an RSS feed for yourself where you can monitor their posts on a regular basis, but we've found nothing in there that's related to multifamily at all. There's been some cars that have been sold, things like that, but I haven't had any luck with this. But in the past, and this is, again, I'm just giving a global perspective of individuals who've told me about these sources that they've used, and they've used it over the last 10, 15 years, where you're going through a market cycle. And these may be useful in the future. They're not right now, but I just wanted to let you know what all sources are out there for getting multifamily deals besides a broker. So everyone's like, oh, you can only get it from a broker. I'm like, no, not necessarily. And then the other thing too is for your CRM, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I'll just talk about it now. So your CRM, when you're using your sources, well, actually I'll come back to that. It's out of order. Commercial window repair, cooling, landscaping in the DFW area or wherever your market is, asking them what properties require the most work. That's a possible source, but again, it's a relationship-based business, and a lot of contractors I've worked with, unless they're actually like a real friend of mine, they get excited and they'll tell you one time, and if they can't close a deal with you, they like stop talking to you. So it's not really like a good source unless you have that friendship already there. Again, a residential broker, mentioned that earlier, they have the ability to look into MLS, because sometimes people will enter in properties that don't know what they're doing, and they'll put in, I've found stuff in there that there are these large properties that should never have been on MLS, but someone doesn't know what they're doing. That's also a good sign that maybe you could be a skilled negotiator and get a really good deal. You never know. HUD, multifamily, bank owned, foreclosed, pre-foreclosed, short sale. Those are all things that a residential broker would be privy to, or have a network of people that would be privy to. So if you're someone that's not in the real estate game and you're looking for multifamily deals, or even single family, the residential broker is going to be the person that's kind of pounding the pavement and looking for that stuff. If they are like, there's investor friendly realtors and brokers, and then there's just retail. And so they're very different, and the education is very different. If you guys do want access to a couple of people that I know that are really good, all they do is investments. So they help find all these things for someone who's looking for multi or single family, because that's they're the investor friendly realtor. Creating bank relationships, I mentioned, just giving them a call, trying to figure out what's in their special assets division. So you can look up, not always, but you can look up major banks online. You can look up their special assets division, who the head or president or manager or whatever of the special assets division is, and then you work on getting a hold of that person and creating a relationship. But again, it takes time. None of this is quick or immediate. You have to do this. Eviction court's another way. Right before COVID hit, I was just tapping into this, and because it's really difficult. You have to find out your local court, how they basically not advertise, but how they list the upcoming cases. And so for Dallas, it's different than other places, but they have like 2 sub lists, and it's inside the Justice of the Peace. That's where they do the evictions. So the Justice of the Peace, then they have like an internal department that has a list. And if you pay a certain amount, then they will send you 1 list a month. This is only for 1 county, 1 list. And it's interesting too, because like it'll give you a 60-day spread. So who was on this list last month and who is upcoming. But honestly, it's not up to date. It's not accurate. It'll give you an idea, because what I was looking at it for was, okay, do I keep seeing the same complex repeating over and over and over again? They're having problems, and so that's an opportunity. But again, with COVID going on right now, a 60-day window is not really appropriate. You need something that's updating really quickly. And so this is not a great resource right now, but these are just things that I've used in the past. So back to the CRM, it's really important to have a way that you can nurture these leads. So that's the next thing. And I don't even think I did a slide on it. Maybe I did. I did. Okay, there we go. So the next thing is once you get, so I just basically mentioned like a lot of hard work, right? So you're going to be spending like all your time working your butt off, and not really even getting deals done. This is just a lot of relationship groundwork, relationship building. And sometimes with certain people that takes years, you know, so it's really difficult to get sources or get leads from these sources I mentioned. However, it can be done, but having automated systems to do that is like the only way to make it work if you're trying to do everything by yourself. And again, it's okay to ask for help. And I've learned that lesson over and over and over again. But once you finally do get a lead, no matter where it comes from, it's really important. So first you start off knowing what criteria you want, what leads you want, what criteria those leads need to meet. And then on the back end, once you have them, you have to have a CRM set up. I mean, if you're getting like paying for 3 leads, or if you're getting 3 leads, okay, that's a different story. But if you want to scale, and if you understand the sales model of, I've always seen this where it's, you know, 1 to 10, you'll meet 10 or 10% of what you meet or what you originally like start working on. 1% or like 10% will close out of 100% is what I'm trying to say. So it's going to take a lot of leads to see a lot of success. You have to scale up. And so if you're going to scale up, you have to be able to have systems that are going to automatically respond to people, that are going to automatically make sure that you're getting communication from them if they're hot or they're actively contacting you, creating notes for the conversation so you have something to reference in the future, and then also having content and having things for those people to keep you top of mind. A CRM is so important. Like I said, reminders, you can do auto postcards. That's something really cool that we have done out of our CRM, but it's not that the CRM is making the postcards. All it is it's linking up different services and organizing them and then making it trackable and repeatable. So email drip campaigns, that's another thing that you can do through a client relationship management system is what CRM stands for. Auto calls, slide dials, you can have a VA do it, you can have your team do it. It's really important to, again, nurture those leads after you have them because every person is different. They have different sets of values, different age ranges, all kinds of things. And so for me, when I do the follow-up portion of it, depending on what kind of thing we're talking about, commercial, the follow-up is more spread out than it is with residential. With residential, you kind of have to be on it because you almost have to like strike that person's emotions when they're correct or when it's the right timing, I guess. So you always have to try to hit them up all the ways that people like communication. People like calls, some people like text messages, some people like emails, some people like mailers, like physical postcards. Everybody's different. And so being able to have a system that produces all those things, like if you add in a new lead, then all of a sudden, bang, 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 all 4 of those things are being sent off at once. That's what you want. And then being able to track how it's working. And after so many contacts, stopping contact or whatever. So again, you want to auto distribute clickbait. So that's what I mentioned with like if you have a follow-up, you know, after you've contacted them or to get them in your system. Say if they contacted you once, but you can't get them to get in touch with you again or something, it's okay to send them something for free. So we have some white papers or newsletters that kind of explain what's going on with their market or what's going on with anything that would anything that would give them some value, right? So it's okay to get those things, but it's awesome when you have it in your CRM and you automatically, when they get to a certain stage, they just get it. You know, you don't have to ever send it. And again, auto text, auto responders, and then make sure that these things are all in tandemly working them down your system. So for us, it's like new lead, lead contacted, lead interested. And if they're not interested, it goes down a different set of email drip campaigns. When they are interested, then so you move them forward in a progress. And then basically it's automated. So they're being nurtured until they're fully ready to get to you and to do business. So that's really the goal. So you kind of have to work on those systems. And there's a few resources out there that I could, I guess, if y'all have questions on that, I could give you a few, like 4 or 5 different examples of people that will help create that. I mean, I did mine on my own. I did it the hard way, unfortunately. I wouldn't recommend it, but I needed very unique features. So I did my own. And then sourcing deals in multifamily, how? So now I'm going to lead into Real Estate IQ. So I mentioned all of those different avenues or different opportunities that you had earlier to be able to source leads. But I, again, explained all of the hard work and the planning and the constant relationship nurturing that you have to do on a either face-to-face basis or on the phone basis just to create that relationship. And it can take quite a while. So if we're at home and we're not able to do that, what's your alternative? Here's an opportunity. So that's all I got. Becky, do you want me to swap screens?
Hi. Okay, let me talk when I'm not on mute.
There we go. Okay. On the screen, I gave it to you.
Yeah. I said, thank you, Kaylee, very much for that interesting information. And so I noticed one of the things that Kaylee mentioned was getting eviction notices from the courthouse, and you get a list every 60 days. We're pulling those eviction notices as they happen. Obviously they're not really happening at the moment, but they will start happening again because you know, you can't have non-paying tenants forever. So when that does happen, we'll get them to you right away.
Wow.
And we also have an integration with the CRM Podio. So if you have or use Podio, or if you're looking for a CRM, that's a good one that can do all those things that Kaylee mentioned. And so you can integrate that with our system so you can get your leads directly into Podio and keep track of them and work them from there if you like. So here we go. So these are, there we go. These are the off-market leads that we provide. So we have all of these different lists of motivated sellers. And we have, a lot of these are single family, but we have a commercial off-market leads that is anything that's owned by a commercial entity. And so that's going to include also.
Becky, are you showing a screen right now?
Am I not? I am not. Thank you.
Hello.
There we go. Now, here are the off-market leads that we offer. So pre-foreclosures, appointment of substitute trustees, kind of a pre-foreclosure. Sometimes they hit this list 4 to 6 weeks before they hit the pre-foreclosure list. Probate, heirship, eviction notices, as I said, divorce, loan modifications, because the majority of those fail, and we'll probably be seeing a lot of those. Because right now people are in forbearance for their mortgage, but that does not necessarily mean forgiveness. So at the end of this time of forbearance, some of the banks are going to say, let's do a loan modification if you can't pay all that back, all those back payments. Other banks are going to say, okay, your payment's $1,000 a month. I said you didn't have to pay it for the last 3 months. Now it's month 4 and you owe us $4,000. And if they don't have it, some of them are just going to foreclose. Others are going to do loan modifications where they might add it into the loan somewhere else. Some of them might add it to the end, which would probably be the best case scenario for a homeowner, but a lot of mortgage companies won't do that. But if they do a lot of modification, that actually increases the payment. And so if for some reason they're having trouble making the regular payment, they're not going to be able to make a higher one as well. So that's a good list for starting your marketing and building relationships with those people. Liens, just kind of motivated, you know, a signal of financial distress. Code violations, as Kaylee mentioned, delinquent taxes and the tax sale list. So, oh, I have to sneeze. Got it, went away.
Bless you.
So these leads are in all categories. So to get our commercial off-market list, you have to have our premium package, which actually gives you skip tracing for the majority of those lists. Not all of them, but the majority of them come with email addresses and phone numbers already on the list. So you can just dump that into your CRM, start your calling, your ringless voicemail, your texting, emailing, whatever it is your marketing strategy is. So this is just the Real Estate IQ team. I'm in charge of the Houston area. Joseph is in charge of Austin, San Antonio, and Rodney is in charge of DFW. So if you go to local events, you might have seen them. Steve and Juan Carlos are company founders. So to tell you about the rest of what we have, we just rolled out our new community. And so I'm going to show you that real quick.
Yeah, we're going to cover it. Yay.
Yeah. So this is where Kaylee has a group on our community. So we'll see that, show you that as well. So you just go, here's our website, realestateiq.co, and click on community. And so the first page of the community is just the feed. You will want to come up here where your name, where there will be no name, and sign up for the community. So it's real quick. You can do it with your Google account or Facebook account if you want as well. So we've got a basic feed, so it's kind of like a Facebook for investors. We have our marketplace where you can connect with any services that you need, education, funding, vendors, notes. We have our events page is going to give you a link to all of our upcoming events. So to go there real quick, here's Kaylee's event today, and then you can look through the other online webinars that we have. But then once you've joined the community, if you go here to groups, we have some different groups. So based on, some of them are based on where you live or a special interest that you might have. So we've got deal analysis. Here's Kaylee's group. What?
I said, there's mine. Woo-hoo.
There's you. Yep, here's Kaylee's group. So you're definitely going to want to join her group so that that's where you'll find the recordings of these webinars, as well as you'll be able to ask her questions, get any information that you need. So you'll definitely want to join that one. If you're in Houston, join my Houston Deal Finders Lounge. And if you are female, join my Women in Real Estate group right here. So this community, as you can see, these numbers are kind of low. We're just getting started. We haven't even done our official launch yet, but we're getting things going and working so that we can launch with a bang. So please,
group, right?
You what?
You can join that women's group, right?
I don't recall.
I can, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
All right, so do go sign up, check out our groups, and keep checking back at this. If it doesn't seem like enough yet, keep going, because it will, it's gonna grow, and I think it's really gonna take off.
Yeah.
Here, so yeah, it's exciting. Let's see. I already showed you our events. So Real Estate IQ offers a deal analysis suite. So Fast CMA is running comps. And we also have you can run comps for commercial properties as well when there are MLS comps. This pulls all the data directly from the MLS. And so you actually don't even need to be a realtor to run your own comps. And it's super fast and easy. So we have a couple calculators for you here as well. I kind of already mentioned our off-market leads. So here, the ones that have the stars by them are the ones that come in our premium list, as well as the commercial off-market leads come to that premium list as well. We also have County Data Finder, which is another source of finding off-market properties. So you can, this comes directly from the tax records. And so you can pull a list of out-of-state owners of small multifamily complexes. For example, you can choose when they owned it, so you make sure it has equity. In some places, you can choose over 65. So homeowners who are over 65, you know, maybe they're going to be more likely to be ready to dump that apartment or whatever you're looking for.
Yeah, that's actually a group that we target, because like you can look it up by either their age or like the amount that of how many years the primary lien's been on that property. But it's kind of the same thing, because when you're in that age group, usually if you were involved in apartments, you're still involved in apartments, and you've probably paid off your mortgage by that point. And so actually for apartments, sorry I interrupted, but for apartments,
No, it's good.
being able to target people that are like that. So they may have some single family, but they might also have multifamily too. You know, I have both. So, you know, you never know. But those people, you can do a seller back carry with them, or basically have them be the bank. So you don't have to take out a new loan. And what you do is you pay them more, right? So then now they're cash flowing every month a certain amount over their expense that they had. So now they're cash flowing and they're getting monthly income, which they like. And then also normally at sale, there's a big capital gains event where they have to pay a massive amount in taxes if they're not going to continue rolling it into more property, which at that age they're not. So you're actually doing those people a favor, helping them make more cash flow every month, and then also helping them to avoid that huge tax gain. So just putting it out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Unfortunately, Harris County in Houston doesn't allow that data on the tax records, but I believe most areas in DFW area and a lot of other counties have it.
Yeah,
So,
neither does
yep. Definitely something to check out. So you can narrow your search by city, zip code, even subdivision if you're looking for a single family. So it's a really cool way to get a list to market to. So that makes our deal finding suite. The MLS Deal Finder, this is only for single family, but this pulls up new listings that meet your criteria as far as the price range. And you can say, I only want something that's at least 30% or more below market value on the list, so you know that it's an investor property. You can set whatever criteria you want, and then you'll get an email whenever a new property that meets your criteria hits the market. So that's a very cool thing too, to stay on top of the on-market leads. So we also partner with ROI Muse. They have some awesome commercial and residential deal analysis calculators that just make that deal analysis really easy. You can compare one deal to another. You can compare different financing strategies. So that's a really cool thing too, and it's really reasonably priced. So if you weren't on before, did not get a chance to request one-on-one demo, we call it a deal finding training, but it's really just a demo of everything that Real Estate IQ has to offer and how you can use it to find deals. So we also have lots of support once you join. All right, so we have some freebies, and you've got a poll coming up right now asking if you'd be interested in any of these for your metro area. We have heat maps that kind of tell you where the discounted MLS deals are, where the pre-foreclosures are, where the good rental properties are. And we'll have our deal of the day, which is a single family property that's listed on the MLS below market value. And so we analyze it with our system and send it out to you. So you can request any of those on your poll. If you missed requesting the training, just put that in the chat that you're interested. And we've got somebody right now, if you'd like a live demo today, somebody can call you and do that with you as soon as this webinar is over. So just put that in the chat and somebody will contact you. All right, here is Kaylee's contact information again. And we're going to open it up at this point for questions and answers. So if you have a question that you would like to ask, you can raise your hand. We'll enable your microphone and then you can ask that question. And I lost my chat box. Oh, there it is.
Or if y'all have any questions, you can stick them in the chat box if you want to. I am here to answer any questions.
Roy said that he heard that regulators came out last week and disallowed banks to require full payment due at the end of the 90 days. So I hadn't heard that. Had you heard that, Kaylee?
I had not, no. And that was something I was telling people to watch out for. You just have to read your documents, but you know, yeah, this is a very interesting time period, you know, where things are changing week to week. So if you do have any kind of link to that, I would love that, you know, for all of us actually. Yeah, I have not heard that.
Yeah, Roy, I'd love that information as well. I know that after Hurricane Harvey here in Houston, it was the same kind of thing. They did the same thing. They said you can't foreclose on somebody who flooded for up to 6 months. But at the end of that time, you know, some of the banks did a modification and others just came back and said, okay, you owe me 7 months worth of payments.
Nuts.
So the foreclosures just skyrocketed. Yeah. After that. Roy's going to look for us.
All right, there's 27 of y'all on here. Please ask me some questions.
Okay. Stephen is on. Stephen, what question do you have for us?
Hi, Becky. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Becky, you might have answered this already when you were talking about Real Estate IQ's county data finder. We are Real Estate IQ subscribers, but we haven't yet explored that. So this might answer it. Relatively new to multifamily wholesaling, especially duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes, and we're having real difficulty getting a comprehensive and accurate list of all the duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes in any particular county. For example, we went to listsource.com and a lot of the ones they said were duplexes in their list were actually single family, you know, once we researched them more, and they had 0 available as triplexes and quadplexes in Dallas County. Is Real Estate IQ county data finder something that can help me get a comprehensive list, whether the seller is motivated or not? We want to text, you know, thousands of owners every month, so we need the list of pretty much all duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes in a county. Or Kaylee, if you have any thoughts on that as well.
Right. The in County Data Finder, what you would do is kind of search for all multifamily under a certain price range, I would say.
So it's not by units, you mean?
Yeah, you can't do it directly by the number of units.
Okay.
But you can, you know, if you know the highest price for a quadplex you've seen is like 600,000. I don't know the market. I'm just throwing that out there. You know, you could search for all multifamily properties under 600,000. And that would probably give you pretty close to the list that you're looking for.
Okay. Is there a limit on how many we can export every month from County Data Finder?
If you have the DFW Metro subscription, the export limit is 2,000 per month.
Okay.
But if you're really close, you know, we can work with you on that as well.
Okay. Kaylee, any thoughts on that from your side of things?
So if it's got MLS data, so like in actual MLS, you can search by the number of units, and it's obviously correct, but unless you know, well, actually the best, if you can get a hold of tax software, I think that's probably the most comprehensive list. So I don't know if there's a, Becky, did you mention something about tax? Not tax liens, but like in Dallas, in our MLS, it's called RPR, or realist tax. That's what it's called in there. And basically it's just
That's
a way.
just searching the tax records, right?
So I would go, if you can do that through Real Estate IQ, I would check the tax records, and
Yep.
What I do is I just narrow it down by whatever categories that I'm looking for. So like in the zip code, certain amount of units, that doesn't tell you if they're motivated. It doesn't tell you if there's a foreclosure. It doesn't tell you like that kind of stuff. I think it can filter down by out-of-state owners, but if you're just wanting like how many fourplexes are there, I would think that that would probably be the best, the tax records or tax roll.
So Kaylee, are you talking about the like a county's recorder site, the county site, or is RPR something different, like a paid software that we would subscribe to? Or
So RPR or Netris Tax is inside, like I have the subscription for Dallas, Fort Worth, Tyler, probably up to Oklahoma, not to Houston, not Austin, but a certain area of our MLS coverage. And there's different MLSs or whatever, but just because I'm a residential broker also, it's Netris Tax or RPR, which is pulling from those records. But I'm just familiar with the navigation of it because it's just been given to me because I already pay our dues, you know? So the same information is publicly available, but it's just how you search.
like a consistent interface across multiple counties, basically?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've looked in HAR, you know, different. I've looked in, yeah, it's all different.
Okay.
And some like apps that we have access to, they don't have access to. It's all different. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you both.
Yep. Kevin says, do you see valuation of multifamily coming down because tenants can't pay rent, or vacancies increasing, which will take the NOI down?
I do, you know, and out of all these capital market reports that I've been going through the last couple of days, now that I have data from Berkadia, CBRE, some of the largest institutions bank-wise, like they have billions and billions under management. So that's pretty reliable data. They're tracking what's been happening the last 10 years, what happened in the last recession, as like, and then that graph flipped compared to right now, but we can't really track exactly what's going to happen because this is such a weird thing. It is like a hybrid between a financial crisis and a disaster. So like if you're noticing all of the ways that we're utilizing money and stopping foreclosures and all this stuff is more similar to like a disaster, it's not usually something you do in a financial crisis. So we'll just kind of have to see how this plays out. But at first I'll tell you what I saw, and then I'll tell you what the reports say, because what I saw was different than what the reports are saying. And the reports are only commenting on Q1 performance, which January, March, which then April was really like the first month that we were really like seeing how this was going to shake out. And now we're in May and we have like all of April's data. Those reports really don't play on April's data, except for saying we do believe that what we're seeing is slowdown. So I don't have the charts in front of me. I wish I did. I'm in the middle of writing this right now and it would be on my iPad. But what we're seeing is Q1 cap rates started to, so you're talking about NOI, but cap rates in Dallas, Fort Worth, and actually all of Texas started to increase. So that was basically like a prediction on the yield spread changing with the Fed. And then now that we're seeing like in real time, really what's happening is the same thing is continuing to happen. It's just uncertainty, consumer confidence, like all that stuff is all related, right? So with that, there's been a few people I've talked to where I'm trying to take advantage of this uncertainty and fear as much as possible, where whenever we put together an offer now, I'm not putting any rent growth at all for 12 months. And I tell the seller that up front, and I'm like, and so obviously there's a price adjustment for that, right? I can't remember the wording, but I just wrote another blog about it too, where my SEC attorney said in your contracts that you can also put in what's basically like a guarantee of rents. So for a certain time period, you basically have the seller put aside what would guarantee you those rents for like 6 months or 3 months or whatever that is. And so then that reserve account or escrow account starts to pay you if it doesn't meet those standards moving on into the future. And so therefore they can get the higher price, but in you're guaranteed those rents, right? So there's creative ways to do stuff right now while we're not exactly sure how this is going to turn out long term. But for me, I'm trying to say, look, like, you know, there's not going to be any rent growth. It's going to be static, you know, for the next year. And that's true over the last 12 months, actually, in Dallas Fort Worth, is that we saw 3%, which is a great growth rate. It's higher than inflation, but it's steady. It's not going up. Austin has increased. Houston has stayed steady. San Antonio has stayed steady. No one is obviously decreasing, but the point is that a lot of the brokers try to sell their deal on a future value, and we don't buy speculatively. We buy based on exactly how it's performing today. So for me, I'm like, well, today, bro, no rent growth is happening. Like I'll tell you on my properties, not all of them, my West Texas properties, the ones, like I said, that the community is completely unaffected by COVID, which is interesting because those were the risky deals and now they're the good ones. So we kind of lucked out a little bit, and we'll see how it goes moving forward. But, basically taking this assumption that, we're not going to see any growth for the next 12 months because we don't know how long this forbearance thing, and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac has started to do forbearance too. And when you're doing a forbearance on a agency loan or a government sponsored loan, you cannot evict anyone the entire time you're in forbearance. So you could stretch out forbearance. So you could do it like 3 months. You could do it like you keep kicking the can down the road, making it worse. Like it just depends on how long you keep doing the forbearance. You can keep doing it really. Until you foreclose basically. But anyway, so it's variable. And I do see that so that's why I've been on the phone this week with individuals who also originate debt and service debt of multifamily specifically, because those are the people when I call them, I'm like, look, I'm just looking to create a relationship right now because what I see is in the next 90 to probably more like 120 days, I want to know from these banks or from these lending institutions who right now has qualified for forbearance, who is in forbearance, because obviously there's something that they're unsure about. There's something that's not there. What usually is the case is that they've leveraged their property like 3 different ways. So we have one primary bank loan and the remainder is cash. That's it. So there's other people out there that will do like a capital stack. This is crazy risky, but we don't do it, where they'll get like 90%, not debt to income. They'll get 90% LTV or LTC, or they'll get maybe 85% or something higher. And then they'll get a secondary lien that's like a private equity institution. And so basically you have all this debt out there where people own your entire property and you put very little cash into it. So, you'd be the one to lose it. And there are people out there that are in that situation. And I'm assuming that those are the people that have filed and gotten accepted for forbearance. And so my job right now is to be very vigilant over, who needs a bailout. And then in the meantime, obviously getting investors ready. So that's why I dropped that link in the very beginning, is because the sooner we can create a relationship with investors and they can be in our database, the sooner that they can get involved with the next project. Because legally we cannot advertise a deal. We can't talk about it once we're under contract. And I'm looking to have relationships with these banks so they can continue to keep. They want their portfolios to stay big. They don't want to lose properties, and they also don't want to pay for debt that's on their books, right? So their goal, like ultimately for them, would be you have a buyer that's defaulting, to have another buyer in the waiting, like put me in, coach, and then they just assume the debt. And then they're going to be a little bit more lenient on that price too, because they just don't want to take care of it themselves or service it, or not service it. They don't want to have debt on the books. And then I'll basically be able to pick it up from them. And so they didn't lose any of their assets under management, which is how the firm wants to stay. So sorry, super long answer, because there's so much information and data I'm constantly reading and trying to learn. And there's much more up in here, and on my writing, I'll get blogs out there if you want to read those. But I do see in the next 120 days, for sure, rents not lowering. I think they're going to stay where they are. But for example, like what we're doing on our renewals, this is creative, and not all of us are doing this. We've got one property that I think they're being pretty stupid. They're like, oh, we're still going to keep bumping the rents because we're 100% occupied. And normally the model is that you keep bumping until you have at least a couple of vacant units and you stay above like 98% occupancy, but never 100%. Because when you hit 100%, your rents are too low, but I would not do that right now. So I'm like, no, we need to just be happy with what we have for now. We increased the rents a year ago. We're good, but anyway, so moving forward, I don't see the rents growing, but I don't see them decreasing either. They're just going to stay steady. So the NOI part of it that'll be affected, I think, is just by, like you said, non-paying tenants. But I think that hopefully, being in that position with the special servicers at the bank, we'd be able to scoop it up at a somewhat of a discount, not a super huge discount, but we'd be able to get a good deal at a decent discount, and save it from the NOI decreasing, because and it is, so that's a variable question too. They can't pay rent. or vacancies increasing. So we can always generate, I think I've seen, we can always generate traffic. I use lead traffic. I use Facebook. I use Google Bing, all kinds of different places. When we have a vacancy, it's an actual opportunity to make the unit nicer and to get new people in there. I just don't see the NOI increasing because we can't bump the rents. But I can see us for sure keeping people in there. It's just a poor operator or maybe someone that can't keep paying their debt that would allow us to get a value on the deal just because the person holding the debt doesn't want to continue. Sorry, I'll stop. Let's see.
Roy posted the source for his information. So it seems that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans will not be able to require the missed payments in one lump sum, which is great. But other conventional loans will still do that.
Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you, Roy.
Yeah, I had to go into my, small credit union that I have a single family loan on a rental. And I had to, well, I didn't go in, but I had to see the contract and see all the writing before I agreed to anything. We did do a deferral. We did not do a forbearance because forbearance means that you can't loan mod at all. Like you can't refinance. You can't do anything while you're in forbearance. And again, it was bank debt. So yeah, the independent credit union can kind of do what they want. So it's really important to read everything. But this is actually really cool that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have really stepped up in this situation because this didn't happen in the last crisis that we had. And so basically people were defaulting. And so that's another reason why these servicers and lenders, when I'm talking to them, they're like, we don't have a problem. Like these people have stored liquidity. They have a backup for people that are not paying. This will end supposedly in July, but I always assume worst case. So it's just really cool. I think that they're doing that because they didn't do this before. So that may even help a little bit if this doesn't last forever. It may even help a little bit with, if you look at the troughs and I forget what it's called, like the trough that goes down and then like the wave that goes up with the last recession, what happened. I think we'll see the same thing, but it's not going to be as deep of a trough. I think it will go down. It'll go down. Cool. It's been cooling off, slowing down, if you will. So, it's a time to take advantage. I think, everyone else is freaking out and slowing down. And I think it's a time to renegotiate and to put lots of contingencies in your contracts and continue moving forward. So anybody else have any questions?
Okay, if you think of some later, go ahead and go to Kaylee's community group, or you can go to one of my groups if it's a question for me and get all your questions answered there. So thank you all very much for joining. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, weekend. Happy Mother's Day if you're a mother.
And we will see y'all next Saturday, same time, same place, going over another set of lessons learned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kaylee.
Yeah. Awesome.